Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Good to be here.
It's the end of December, start of a new year, about to commence in just a few days here. So I thought it would be appropriate again to talk about end of year and mostly looking forward to 2026 goals, expectations, plans for next year.
It's 3 days until Christmas.
3 days till Christmas. Yes. So
I'm
that's
totally ready.
10 days till the new year.
Crazy.
And if you have started planning already, fantastic. If it's time to start planning, fantastic. If you don't want to plan until the first of the year, fantastic. The best time to plan is when you're ready to plan.
Mm.
Just recently read a book by Jon Acuff, All It Takes is a Goal, and a book that I heard on the Linda McKissack, Dana Gentry, Everything Life and Real Estate podcast, where I get a lot of great books and inspiration from. I thank them all the time. And great book. Different way to look at goals. There's 1,000 books out there. A few that I would highly recommend for goals, and it would add this to the list for sure. So the idea was to kind of summarize this book and the ideas that came from it.
Perfect. I don't have to read it.
Well, because I don't read, I just listen. So bringing it to page is uncommon for me, but it's also great to have the book. I would highly recommend it. And as we go through this today, I would hope that you'd gain something from it and maybe have a new perspective on goals, because I know for me, having goals isn't very important. It's necessary. You can't see where you're going unless you know where you're going. I will also say that there are times when I've had goals that have been unattainable, or I just felt I was spinning and didn't set any goals. So if you're listening to, and this is directly from the book, if you're listening to this, I'm guessing you already believe goals matter. You've heard that your whole life. You might have even written some down, maybe at the start of the year, maybe on a random burst of motivation. And if you're being honest, a lot of those goals didn't really go anywhere. Today isn't about trying harder or feeling guilty. It's about why those goals didn't stick and how Jon Acuff's framework from All It Takes is a Goal explains what actually went wrong. Because here's the thing. Most people aren't bad at goals. They just weren't given a system that works in real life. So why most goals fail. Most goals don't fail because people are lazy. They fail because they're vague, oversized, or designed for a version of life that doesn't exist. We say things like, I want to be healthier, or I want to grow my business, but we never decide what that actually means on a regular Tuesday when we're tired and busy. And when progress stalls, we assume we're the problem. This book flips things on that completely. He says most of the time the goal was the problem, not the person. That's where everything changes, because once you stop blaming yourself, you can start redesigning the goal. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he talks about picking goals. This leads into the second part, which is probably my favorite part, but start with what you're thinking about the most. So maybe every year at the beginning of the year, or the end of a year, should I say, you have these thoughts, oh, I really want to do this, or I want to do that. Or maybe during the year, you've written down some things, or many times throughout your life, you've said, I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to climb a mountain. I've always wanted to run a mile. I've always wanted to spend more time with my family, or spend more time with my parents, reconnect with a friend, things of that sort. And so what he says is the more you think about a particular thing, you may be closer to that specific goal. If it keeps resurfacing, it's not random. That's important information. And pick a goal that fits your current season. A goal that worked 5 years ago may not work today. And if your goal doesn't fit your current energy or schedule or responsibilities, you're probably going to lead to burnout or just going to fall apart. And this is the key, I think, at least very true for me. Pick one goal, not 10, one clear target. Focus beats enthusiasm every time. Do you pick only one goal? It would be great to start with one, make some accomplishment, then maybe open up to some others. Have I picked more than one goal and had success? Yes. But if you're new to goal setting, it would probably be best to start with one and go from there. And make sure that that goal that you pick can be shrunk. He says, if you can't shrink a goal, you're going to quit it. Shrinking isn't lowering the bar, it's building resilience. Does your goal pass what he calls the bad day test? Ask yourself, can I do some version of this on a bad day? If the answer is no, the goal's too big. And finally, decide. Don't drift. A goal isn't something you think about, it's something you decide. Then he steps into performance zones, which I thought was really great. Once you've picked the right goal, the next question is how hard you're pushing. That's where the zones come in. The three zones are the comfort zone, the chaos zone, and the potential zone. Comfort zone is easy. You know, it sounds like a nice goal, doesn't ask much of you. I'll work out more, let's say. I'll read when I have time, but it doesn't create change. The chaos zone is where you're highly motivated and you sabotage yourself because you have huge expectations. You make massive expectations. And when real life shows up, he says guilt and quitting follow. And what's the sense of setting yourself up for failure? And I can tell you that, again, for me, setting too many goals or too many loose, undefined goals can lead to this chaos zone. The sweet spot he discusses is the potential zone, and it stretches you without crushing you. If it fits into real life, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep showing up. Then the three types of goals, and there's comfort goals, middle goals, and guaranteed goals. And the comfort goals, you're almost guaranteed to hit. They build confidence and momentum. So it doesn't mean that, above he talks about the comfort zone, and now he's talking about comfort goals. He's not saying that comfort goals aren't important. He's saying that comfort goals are good because you're guaranteed to hit them. They give you some momentum. They get you going. And examples of those could be, I'm going to walk 10 minutes. I'm going to save $25 a week or something like that. They remind you that progress is possible, even on hard days. Middle goals, these live in the potential zone. They're challenging but realistic. This is where growth happens. A good example of a middle goal is to exercise 3 times a week, as opposed to I'm going to exercise, I'm just going to exercise, or I'm going to write 1,000 words a week, or I'm going to make 5 calls to my parents a week, or I'm going to make 5 care calls to people that I know a week. Most progress comes from middle goals when they're sized correctly. Then he talks about guaranteed goals. And guaranteed goals he calls these never quit goals. The smallest possible version of you will do the smallest possible version you will do no matter what. 1 push-up, 1 sentence written, open the spreadsheet. Guaranteed goals remove the all or nothing mindset. You always win something. Then he talks about the fuel the fuel to keep these goals going. And we think motivation is the fuel, but motivation, he says, is unreliable. What actually fuels goals is clarity, small wins, tracking, and permission to restart. And reading the book, a ton of examples about, tracking goals, goals that he's tracking. Uh, he has a spreadsheet for probably everything, and he may be over analytical for some people, but the truth of the matter is, when you look at what you're doing, most of the time you have tracking mechanisms in place. They may not be written, they likely exist in some way or another. And I'll give some examples. But back to the fuel. It actually fuels goals. What fuels goals is clarity, small wins, tracking, and permission to restart. One of the best ideas in this book is that restarting is a skill, which I thought was pretty key. I think it's Strava, which is, if anybody knows what Strava is, it's a health and fitness app that you can track your running, cycling, walking, exercise activities on. And on Strava, I think it's January 19th is the quitting day for people's goals at the beginning of the year. They can actually track the activity levels of people, and on January 19th, I think, is the day things just drop off. So, maybe their goals were in the chaos zone, or they were just too far of a stretch that they fell off. But the important thing is not to quit. You just restart. And he says restarting is a skill. And when you look at starting a goal, say it's exercise, and I'm going to walk 10 minutes a day. Well, you might walk 10 minutes a day for 19 days and then stop, either because you're tired, for whatever reason you stopped. The question is not, the question is, have you quit, or can you restart tomorrow, or can you restart in a week? Maybe you set your goal and you didn't look ahead to see that, in the middle of January or February, you got to go on vacation for a week. And while you were away, you chose not to do that activity. So when you get back, restart. It's not that you're quitting. And he says, missing a day doesn't ruin a goal, but quitting does. Guaranteed goals make restarting automatic. One push-up a day. There's a promise goal. And a goal doesn't promise perfection. It promises direction. It tells you what matters today. It gives you feedback. It keeps you moving forward, even if it's slowly. And I love the whole idea of, gradually you work on things until suddenly something big happens. And a goal isn't a wish. It's a decision to aim. Okay, so in kind of wrapping up at least a summary of this book, and this is from the book, if goals haven't worked for you before, that doesn't mean you failed. It means the system was incomplete. Pick the right goal, put it in the right zone, build the right support around it. You don't need more discipline. You don't need a new personality. All it takes is a goal designed the right way. And he just does a fabulous job in the book of walking people through these steps and makes it very basic, very understanding, and just starting small with one simple thing and tracking. So one thing for me is talk about Strava. I use Strava for my cycling, and I have a goal, and it's the ultimate goal is to do this race that I do with Lucian in Minnesota. It's 100 miles and gravel, and it's a great effort. And it happens in the end of September, 1st of October. So it's kind of a good year process to get there. And this past year was probably the best prep for me because I've done it 2 other times before, so I knew what was to be expected. And, in reviewing some more about activities and what to do and how to do them, helped me arrange my schedule better. So it helped me a great deal by doing less but achieving more. I didn't have to go out and ride as long as I did the year before. The year before that, I could ride less. I could ride more frequently with less miles. So I wasn't gone for 5 or 6 hours out on a bike ride when I want to be home with my wife and family. So the goal is to be able to finish that ride. That was my original goal. Then it was to finish it within a certain amount of time. And last year it was 7 hours. And going into it this year, which I just finished, made that goal, and working backwards from it, I knew how many miles I would probably need to ride on a weekly basis to build up to it. And I had set a goal for the total number of miles that I would ride in the year, which was 3,000 miles. So I spread that over the weeks, and when I'm going to ramp up and when I'm going to be a little lighter.
Do you
And
count riding on the trainer in the winter?
the trainer counts,
Okay.
yes. Yep.
Yep.
So I'm actually about to finish the year out, and I'll exceed that goal, which I didn't expect to do. I'm happy to do it. But if I had not had that big goal, it, it would have been wouldn't have been as focused, I guess. And it was, a good middle goal because I had those particular. Every week I know how many miles I'm going to ride, and it's all built up to that total mileage. But really, to be able to do that event without gassing out
Totally.
and having to have your brother drag me around. Yeah.
I haven't read the book, so which is good because if I did, I'd be tracking with you this whole time.
Mm.
Like, okay, system, middle, uh, guaranteed, and I think I kind of know them all, but um, from what I've heard and learned before, I really like uh, Scott Adams, who wrote Dilbert, Systems versus Goals. And you take the goal, which is, what's the race called again?
What's a what? Oh, it's the Heck of the North.
Heck of the North, which is a how many mile race?
105, 100 to
105
105.
mile race. It takes you 7 hours ish, half a day, or I mean, a work day, basically. A full day in my mind. To ride this. Okay, that's the goal. Ride this, complete it the first year. Do it in this amount of time the next year. Rank in the top 100 for your age group, whatever. The third year, whatever the goal is. That's the goal. And then there you create a system for meeting that goal, like all these different systems. And some people call them goals too. Like that's the thing is like you have goals and then you have mini goals, and that's why I like system, because it's like, okay, what's a system for achieving your goal? The system is you're going to ride 3,000 miles in the year. What's the system for riding 3,000 miles in a year? You're going to ride 3,000 miles the last 3 weeks of the year? And no, it's not what's going to happen. Okay, so you break 3,000 into 52 weeks. Okay, well, now we're taking, 4 weeks off to go do this, or 2 weeks here, whatever. Okay, now it's, 42 weeks. And then divide that by 3,000, or 3,000 by that. And then that's how many you're riding a week. And then maybe you're doing some other races, throughout the year to gear up for it. That you don't count those. That'll bump you above 3,000. And then, what's your system for riding those? How many miles is it a week ish?
I don't really know how many miles. I don't have an average because, like, in the spring, should I say, actually in the winter, I don't ride as many miles
Mm-hmm.
because riding on the trainer is much.
Right. It's like a treadmill.
It's kind of like a treadmill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people ride a lot of miles on the. It's just not
Good
me.
for them.
I'd rather ride outside. And the other thing is too, if you ride, say you ride 15 miles on the trainer, they say that's like riding a lot more miles outside because you never go downhill on a trainer.
Right.
You're
Right.
always performing, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. So I
So
don't know how many it is. I just know how many it takes to
let's say
get
it's
there.
100 or what,
Yeah.
if it's 20 or 200, doesn't matter.
Mm.
But are you going to ride those in one ride or two rides throughout the week? Okay, I'm going to ride twice a week. It's going to take me, an hour. You've done the math. You haven't just set this like random goal of riding in this race and I just got to make sure I bike enough before I go. Like you have it broken down into not only what will work, but what you actually will do. Because that could change your goal. Your goal could be, okay, maybe I can't do a 7 hour race. Or maybe it's this race or that race, or maybe it's do this race, but I just survive it like the first year versus do it in under 7 hours this year. Like your goal would change based on like how much you're gonna put in. Um, but I just think it's so helpful I think the most important thing is to look at your week. Like if your week doesn't if your goals aren't in your week, like written in there, and I have like two goals,
Hmm.
like literally in life, I have literally two goals, maybe three. Um, I'll just say them.
Hmm.
Get my black belt in jujitsu. These are not in order. Make enough money to pay my bills and do what I want when I want, and then be there for my family. Like that's if it's not ask me to do something that's not those, and the answer is maybe or no. Um, because those are just the only things. And to get the black belt is like I don't really care about the black belt. It's just like what keeps me going. As soon as I have that, it's not like I'm gonna stop or it just it then it will be, something else
You'll
in
focus
that.
on
Right.
something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
within jujitsu or whatever. But that's like a 10-year goal, so I've never had to think about that. I'm getting close enough now where I'm like, okay, I gotta kind of rewrite that. But those things are so easy to break up. Like I go to jujitsu 2 to 3 times a week. Um, you know, if I want to do more things, I got to make more money. Like that's super simple. And being there for my family works with goal number 2, which is do what I want when I want. Like this podcast is what I want to do, and we're doing it. We were gonna do it at 10. It's 11. We started at 11:30. We're flexible. We're not like it's got to happen at that. There are things that I have to do that are not like that. However, trying to keep things where it's like, can we do it here? Can we do it there? Can we do it this time? Can we do it at that time? Always moving towards that. Um, so I think like if it doesn't show like for instance, my week, jujitsu is Monday morning and Wednesday morning. If I do it another time, that's the 2 to 3 times. But if it's not there, like in your schedule weekly, you mentioned one more thing too. This is random. You mentioned what you want to do, like what are you moving towards? And we do a weekly like marriage journal questions together. We just do our schedule for the week, like what big items, and then there are a set of questions that we ask the same questions every week. And the question that reminded me of that what you were saying reminded me of was what's a dream, craving, or desire that's been on the forefront of your mind? So, I want to do this race with Lucian. You'd heard how many years had he done it before you did it?
One.
One, yeah,
I
and
think it was one.
you heard about it and you're like, "Ah, that'd be so fun to do with him." And if you thought about that 14 out of the 52 weeks of the year when asked, "What's a dream, craving, or desire that's been on the forefront of your mind?" It's like, "Get out there with Lucian and do this insane race." I don't know how we're gonna do it. Is he gonna have a bike? Am I gonna have a bike? You never know, like, these things you wanna do.
How am I going to get my bike there?
Yeah, like, but it's all the how stuff that
Mm.
doesn't really matter. It'll all work itself out. You'll figure it out. But, like, you just keep your focus on that vision of, like, us completing the race together. And, how am I gonna get in shape? Like, I'm super inconsistent. Oh, wait. The thing that you want to do is a thing that makes you become disciplined and, uh, consistent. You think like, "Oh, no, I can't do that because 'cause I'm not disciplined and consistent." It's like, no, you have to have the target to aim for in order to become disciplined and consistent. People get it backwards. So like, "Oh, I could never do that because I don't show up like you show up." It's like, no, you have to decide to do this, and then you will show up over and over and over again.
Mm.
So all the things that I haven't decided, I think about this too. Like some people are like, "Oh, I'm not like that." Well, it's like, I bet you are in one way. People that maybe like aren't physically fit, sometimes they're like super good at business and really disciplined financially, or vice versa. Like, throw me at any physical challenge, whatever, but like my budget, it's like, oh, it's very laissez-faire, and that shows up in life, and um, so I think it's like you always have one area of your life where you can look at this and go like, I already do that. I already like look at my budget once a week. I already look at my bank statement once a week. I already, make extra contributions to my mortgage or do whatever. Like, you are consistent in this one area. You're just not in this other area that you're dreaming about being consistent in. And that's what I have to remind myself. Like, okay, I show up in this area, I show up in this area, and I want to show up in this area. I know I can do it because I do it here. I just need to apply the same discipline, set a goal, and then set up a system where it's not like optional whether I look at my budget or not that
Hmm.
week. That haunts me.
Yes, as it does all of us. And there's also a discussion in this book that's so true is you're setting your own goals. You're like, for me, again, the Strava is it's a source of goal setting, of tracking. And I could easily look on there and say, okay, these are my goals because of what this person does or that person does. And that could totally wreck me
Mhm.
because either they're too easy or they're too hard. And for
Totally.
me, it's probably going to be they're too hard and it's going to just burn me out. And the way that person trains may be different than the way my body trains. So you have to set your goals for yourself and not somebody else. You'll set yourself up for failure. And you also, tracking goals, complete vulnerability here. I don't like being told what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. I want to do it when I want to do it, how I want to do it, in whatever way I'm going to do it. And that has worked for me most of my life because I also will do things. I'm not just going to not do things because of all those parameters that I just put around getting something done. I'm a doer. And at the same time, although I have that reluctance to being told what to do, I tell myself what to do all the time and how to do it. And I may not have, I may not be spreadsheet Sam. And yet, and the book talks about it, it's not just, you don't have a one single clearinghouse necessarily. Some people may, but you may not have one single clearinghouse for where you track all these things. Strava, that's how I track my biking. I have my planner that I write in that tracks my daily and weekly activities. I have a spreadsheet that tracks our business. I have Command that we use for Keller Williams that tracks our overall business. So there's lots of different systems that I use. I have podcasts that I want to that are part of my, daily and yearly goal. And those are a range of different things from my spiritual to my physical to my mental health and growth. And those, are I'm not checking them off, but I'm watching them. And I routinely and religiously, keep those flowing throughout. And I may it talks about, what you did 5 years ago is not necessarily relevant today. I don't listen to all the same podcasts that I used to listen to. I'll return to some of them sometimes, but I also am constantly finding new sources to help inspire me. And I think it's generational, it's decade, of lives. I'm beyond the beginning of my 60s. And so now I'm starting to look towards my 70s and preparing for that and what's going to help get me there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Pete Roberts, the founder and owner of Origin, always talks about like the decades
Mm.
of your life, and he says like for the first 20 years you're learning, you're just like sponging, like completely, almost you're just trying to figure out like the game we're all in, what the parameters are. It's like you're just finding gravity basically, and then I think he says like you have four like huge opportunity decades. You know, your 20s, you're like you're getting your hands dirty, you're learning, and then I might end up cutting this because I can't really remember. But anyway, um, your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s, and then he says like as you enter those later seasons, which he's not, there yet, you're trying to enjoy the fruits of your labor during those times, and he's like so many people just, you know, don't think about the fact that you only have, how fast a decade is and each decade gets faster. I'm thinking about I'm working with some younger guys right now, and I'm like, "Oh my," I'm the 35-year-old with these guys. I'm like the old guy, like with these kids, I mean, they're working with older guys too, but man, like I can't take that for granted that like I'm halfway through my career, Like if you retire at 60, like I'm like almost halfway, through my decades at which I'm going to work past 60. I can almost guarantee it because I like working. Um but anyway.
Well, I think, back to the decades thing too is I was at my parents' house, Grandma Binky's house the other day, and I don't know what made me think of it. I have not really put it in perspective before. I always thought about how old Binky, your grandfather is, how old, and my relationship to that mostly is that when I started skiing at age 6 or 7, he was in his early 30s, just starting to ski. And that always blew my mind that, you know, for a man that age to go out with 2 young kids, had another adult with us, but, the 4 of us would get on the T-bar. He didn't know how to ski, how to walk on skis, but he had to put somebody in between his legs to get on the T-bar to go up the lift and had to ride the lift, not knowing how to be on skis and then ski down, which I didn't see any of that. I was just, like you said, at that point in time, you're just trying to figure out life. So I always have had him from an age perspective, kind of in check. But I looked at my mom and all of a sudden I said, shoot, she's 23 years older than I am.
No.
Yeah. Well, we're going to edit this out for sure. So let's see. She was born in 1940. So she's 22 years older than I am.
What did you say, 23?
Yeah.
I guess Holly was born a year before you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
keep going.
So she's 22 years older than I am, which means that's me. That woman over there in 22 years is me when I'm 85.
Mm,
Holy cow. I only got 22 years till I'm 85.
mm, yeah,
Put me in check.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. The age thing is I think the older you get, the more you become aware of, like, the briefness of our time here. One, you see a lot more people, like, who don't make it to the end, and so you're like, "Okay, well, you know, I could get cleaned out by a truck tomorrow." So, definitely wanna be present. And then 2, like, everyone I'm interacting with, right now is a little older than me. Kids are, teenagers or grown, and just they talk about like, "Oh, it's just yesterday. Just yesterday. We were just yesterday with the baby and whatever, and enjoy it, soak it up, goes quick." And I look at pictures of my 2-year-old, and when she was, 6 weeks, 3 months, a year old, we're watching videos of her, trying to talk to us at 1, and she's like, "No, I don't want this," or, you know, like, "Dada, dada," and that person is gone forever, forever gone. And now this new thing is here, which is even more amazing and intelligent and chaotic. But it's like you have to mourn that time gone because you can't get it back. I told Mariana yesterday, I said I would sell all my earthly possessions and take no profit in order to go back and do it all over again. Like just 2 years of my life. I would do it all. I would give up everything to go do it again. Um, and if, 20 years, I'm sure people would absolutely do that. But I was like, even like 6 months, a year, I would give a lot to go back and do it all over again. Um, and the older you get, the more you see, like, I mean, you're
3.
63, I'm 34, so you're 30 years older than me. And I'm already like staring at that, like, do not like the I used to be like, oh, old man, even Binky, like he's 91. I've said this to a few people recently. I think they were kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, don't don't say that kind of thing. But I was like, literally, I'm going to be him tomorrow because if what's happened so far is if I can project any like calculus onto how fast my life has gone up to from, 16 to now. I feel like 16 was when it sped up. Sorry, because you're in school and you're just like, get me out of here. Your whole life's dragging on. And then you go to college, it's over in an instant. And then your whole life is just flashing before your eyes. Um, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to be, which is fine. Like he's surrounded by great grandchildren. I'm not besmirching where he is. It's just like the game's going to be over before you even realize you started playing it. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to like tune in and be present. I'm like trying to like squint my eyes to soak up more of my children and like, make sure. And I mean, I have failings too, obviously. My wife asked me to get off my phone all the time. It's not like I'm doing it perfectly. I'm very conscious of it. And I think goals like to bring it back to goals, like you only have like 10 hours a year to like be productive, it feels like, and so it's like, okay, well, do you want to fit a lot into that, or do you not want to fit a lot into that, but you want to fit really specific niche, just you things into it, whether it's like Comic-Con or some, strange niche thing that you're into, whatever, it doesn't matter. But like do that thing, like get passionate about it. And, you know, people think I do karate because I do jujitsu. It's like, no, it's wrestling, like basically. But it's like, who cares what people think, like who cares that people think you're into Dungeons and Dragons and you're actually into this, or you are into Dungeons and Dragons, like great, be into it, do it, live your life. And but it is so short. It's crazy. And I know maybe it sounds silly for someone younger, if someone's older listening to this being like, "Yeah, you have no idea." I know, and that terrifies me. Um, so I'm like paranoid trying to enjoy my life right now.
Well, and it mentions in this book, and it's clearly obvious, there are things that hijack your time,
Mm,
that those are the things that you'll look back and you'll say, "Why did I spend so much time doing that?" And for me, you know, it's the screens,
mm,
uh, and there's a balance, I need a little downtime. Uh, However, especially during this Advent season, for me, it's been a great time because there's some of the apps that I follow have had a kind of Christmas preparation, and it's been about learning how to wait and how to wait well, which is not something that we do in today's society because we have everything to absorb us, to distract us from what's really in front of us.
right,
We don't have to think. We can't think because we have all these things distracting us. And to be able to actually step away and just slow down, have no agenda, and let your mind be clear and creative, because that's when the creativity comes out.
right,
And that has just been great. And, one of the messages in this Advent preparation was we don't wait well because waiting, you lose track if you're waiting. You can kind of take your eye off the ball for a while. Oh, yeah, I was waiting for this, and Christmas period of time is kind of interesting because it's 25 days of Advent. So it's a relatively short period of time. However, 2 or 3 days in, kind of like the 19th of January, you kind of start falling off after a few days. And the way this was presented is, if you look at waiting in the perspective that it's not waiting, it's training. So I'm training for what's coming in at the end of the
Mm,
25 days. I'm not waiting for this ride in the end of September. I'm training for the ride.
mm,
I'm not waiting for my relationship to be better with my wife. I'm taking these steps to make it better. And all these things require time. And some of the time that you spend on these requires very focused and specific and intentional time. So, in setting a good goal, you establish how much time you're going to put into that. Like you for jujitsu, it takes you so many hours. A training session is so long; it takes you so long to get there, so long to get back. So this is the amount of time each week that I'm going to devote to that. Where is that going to get me at the end of the period of time,
right.
whatever it happens to be? And the other thing I highly recommend that I didn't say earlier is pick a goal that you can finish sooner than a year.
Mm,
You could finish the goal in one session. That could be it. My goal is to, I don't know, nothing's coming off the top of my head right now. My goal is to get up tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's my goal. And if you never do it again, you've accomplished the goal. But I highly recommend something like the 12-week year or a monthly goal. And if you actually go to this book, there's a PDF or a guide sheet for setting goals and tracking goals in here. And it says, what can I do in 7 days? What can I accomplish in 7 days? What can I accomplish in 14 days, a month, a quarter, and then 2 quarters? And maybe the goal is done in 2 quarters or 2 weeks. You don't have to keep doing it. But breaking it up into chunks is clearly huge because, if you set goals for the year and it's January or March and you've still got, 9 months to go till the end of the year, you can lose track.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's wrap up. I did want to say, or I was wondering about this, if people wanted to connect with you on their goals. I thought a good thing that people could do, a lot of people catch this podcast if you made it this far. They get it in an email from Business Real Estate, or if not, whatever. You could reply to that email.
Sure.
Or you can email rick@businessrealestate.com. I'm not offering like a consultation, just like you can message Rick your goal or the thing you want to create a goal about. And just as like a, hey, I'm here, I'm doing it too. And then maybe we can follow up at,
Yeah.
you know, if we make a note from when that goal is, if it's in June, we make a note to follow up, or if it's the end of the year, maybe we can keep track on a
Sure.
spreadsheet or something.
Yeah. I'd love to do that.
Give Juliet one more thing to do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She'd love it too.
Great ideas made possible by the women in our business.
Right. Those that make things happen.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great idea. If somebody ever wanted to send over a goal, if they had questions about goals, I'd be happy to
Yeah.
get a dialogue with them.
Yeah.
Sure.
I wish people could see how much you write handwritten notes, because I think people get them, and a lot of people get them. So they are probably like, wow, I would imagine I'm way down on the list here and I've got a handwritten note. So you must spend a lot of time doing that. I wish people would see how much time you spend doing that so that they knew that a text or a phone call or an email to you would be like the easiest thing ever. Like if someone wanted to talk to you, you're available. Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yes.
Like you spend so much time reaching out to people with a handwritten note that you have time for people. I think people would benefit from knowing that if someone wanted to or needed to
Yeah.
bounce something off of you.
Yeah, and I think that when I look forward to this coming year, I will continue to do those intentional things like notes, writing notes, uh, emailing people, texting people, and doing more of it. I value that.
Yeah,
I really do, uh, because people have done that for me,
right.
and every time someone does that, uh, it it really strikes a chord with me.
Make this drag on a little bit longer. I
Mhm.
was talking with Mariana last night. We were talking about going to church on Christmas Eve, whether we were going to or not, because my brother's coming into town, surprise visit basically, and the time to spend with them is like right during when our Christmas services. So we're going through all the logistics of it, and one of the reasons we were talking about wanting to go on the side of really wanting to go was the candles that you light in the church, and it's just this beautiful thing. It's beautiful visually when all the candles are lit and the lights are off, and you see this 2-year-old child with a candle in front of their face lit up. It's like a Rockwell painting. It's the
And
most magical thing. But what I said was, it's so symbolic, the flame and the candles, because you start with one flame, and one flame touches someone else's candle wick and lights that flame. And in a moment, that flame touches the unlit wick and catches it on fire. And they make this bigger single flame. And the first flame loses nothing. There's no like cost for it to pass on fire. And the second flame went from no energy to like, putting off BTUs, you know, lighting up, whatever. And then that other flame could be extinguished or, brought outside, whatever. And that one flame could light 100 more, or three more that light, seven more that light. And it's just exponential and infinite. And I was saying that it's like encouragement or support or whatever, positivity that we have the opportunity to give to someone. In that moment, we give them encouragement, support, whatever. It costs me nothing to do that. Like, it doesn't hurt me. If anything, in a moment that I do that, I feel better. Later, I'm like, that was great. I was able to help that person or whatever. In that moment, you receiving it are like on, riding the high of being encouraged, or just like taking some weight off of you, or, supporting you in whatever way. And then in that collective moment where it happens, there's like this super energy, between the two. And then you can then, who had maybe had nothing or was bogged down or whatever, can then go and support other people. And it's like a ripple effect, which is like, I mean, duh, everyone knows this. It's not, I'm not like painting a picture that people don't know, but I just connected it with the flame thing and the church, candle lighting at Christmas Eve. And I was like, oh, we have to go. Like, I mean, we still may not go, because we basically said, if the girls are all playing together and it's like this magical thing, they're reading a book with Papa or whoever, and we're not going to stop the moment to go do that. But hopefully we'll get to do both. I just thought,
maybe we'll all go together.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. But I just thought it was a cool thing to think about, that like I connected it to
Mm.
you writing these cards, or interacting with someone, or sending an email or a phone call or a text or whatever. And it's like, it's such a small thing, but like it just has ripple effects, and we all ought to do more of it.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. Well, it's very visual,
Yeah.
very easy to see.
Yeah. Us visual people, we like it.
That's right.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
I love you.
Love you too.
I
Merry
love all of
Christmas,
you out there.
everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Happy New
holidays.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Onward.
Onward
Mm.
to 2026.
To 2026.
Who would have thought? Okay. Anyway, see y'all.
Peace.
Peace.